From a young boy that may have been described as mischievous, to becoming a man who has impacted politics at the highest level in the most improbable of ways and places, Chief Justice Beatty remains humble and quiet, but his legacy is loud.
I grew up not far from here in a public housing project at Tope Hartwell. Loving parents, loving grandparents, parents who were only high school educated but had a serious interest in education and insisted that we apply ourselves, and I must admit that I'm not one who abided by that instruction. We lived in the projects until maybe my senior year of high school, and my parents bought their first home.
He himself never anticipated becoming a judge, and those around him were likely equally surprised that young mischievous Donald would climb to such heights.
I was always on the right track. I just traversed it differently than some folk. Honestly, I became a reader as a result of punishment. You see, I was mischievous. My punishment was to sit over there and read a book. Going down to South Carolina State kind of changed things for me. I didn't think there was any money for me to go, so I joined the Air Force. On the day that I'm to report to the Air Force, my mom shows up, packs a trunk, and takes me down to Orangeburg to start school. It made me see, meeting the faculty, meeting the other folk that I interacted with, there was more to life than just existing. I only applied to one college, SC State. I had a brother who just graduated from there. I had a sister there on scholarship. I applied, but I never really had any, I won't say intention of going. I just thought I couldn't go.
The Beattys have a long history at South Carolina State University.
My brother went there, my sister went there, a younger brother went there. Of course, I went there. I sent my daughter down there. There are at least 15 to 17 members of my family are graduates of SC State. The best decision made. I haven't looked back since.
Learning something new every day is a way of life for Chief Justice Beatty.
You have to be able to say, I learned something today. I went to school sometimes I didn't. So the question was, what did you learn today? And it became a part of my life. I never go to bed any day without pinpointing something that I learned that day.
There were a lot of paths that Chief Justice Beatty could have chosen, but selflessly, he chose law.
I didn't always want to be a lawyer. I thought I'd be a doctor. When I went to state, my major was going to be either biology or chemistry. But at the end of my freshman year, things were happening. The only way you could defeat those things or change those things was by the law, in the courts. And that's one of the reasons that I became a lawyer and had an interest in the law. I thought there were enough black doctors. We had, in this small town here, we had, maybe 4 or 5 at that time. So I got into politics. I joined city council here in Spartanburg. I came back and started my practice here. I did city council for a couple of years, and then I ran for an office in the South Carolina legislature, and I was successful, and I was there for 5 years. And that's when my most improbable journey to the bench started.
Chief Justice Beatty is only the 3rd African-American South Carolina Supreme Court Justice.
And unfortunately, when I retire, there probably won't be another for another 10, 20 years minimum, unfortunately. The first was Jonathan Jasper Wright back in 1870, I believe. He sat on the court for maybe 3 years before he was pushed off with an incorrect allegation of malfeasance when the governor himself had done the act that he was accused of. Took another couple of 100 years before we got someone else, Ernest Finney. Chief Justice Finney, he was Chief Justice, by the way, as well. And when he left, I came on maybe 10, 12 years later. And I've been on the court now for about 17 years. Been a judge for 28, but on this court for 17. Unfortunately, there won't be another, I don't think, for a long time.
In his role, he ensures the fair application of the law and fosters inclusivity by promoting people of color and women to leadership positions. He takes an active role in shaping policies and staffing, prioritizing equity. Despite challenges, he remains steadfast in upholding the integrity of the legal system with a genuine commitment to fairness and diversity.
Change only comes if you make change happen. But there are also times where that knowledge, that life, a lived experience, if you will, was not welcomed. Because it unmasked some of the things that people don't want to see in themselves. And yes, I've had a lot of that, quite frankly.
On February 25th, 2016, Chief Justice Beatty was nominated by President Obama to serve on the federal bench.
I was nominated for the federal bench. I'd been asked before, but I said thank you, but no thank you. There are other things I want to do that might not go well with that. Politics in particular, quite frankly. And when I was nominated and finally said, yes, I'd do it, I went in thinking, it's not difficult. And I got there and I found my senator, Tim Scott, after having given his word to me and said, oh no, I know you, I followed your career, you'd be an excellent judge, blocked me. Would never come out and say, I'm blocking you, never did that. And just strung it out, kept stringing it out longer and longer, and I decided, I could be Chief Justice. And I thought about it. Chief Justice has more power than any I wouldn't say first year federal judge, but any district court judge. And I thought about it, and with that power, and South Carolina being a strong Chief Justice state, I thought it was a better job. But I never intended to work all my life anyway. I intended to retire at the same time I'm retiring now. So I weighed all of those things, put the pros and the cons, and I compared them. Chief Justice is a better position.
We asked Chief Justice Beatty to brag on himself a little bit. This is about all we got.
As the Chief Justice in South Carolina, I can make changes. I make the change. I make the decision. There's no one else I have to talk to about it. I could do things that a federal judge will never be able to do. I'm very private. Again, it might come from the family upbringing, but we don't talk about ourselves often. And I've turned down, I don't know how many opportunities to do the story, is it called storybook or whatever it is, where they sit you down and do an interview, document. I don't do those things. In my family, you didn't think about things like that. You did things because they needed to be done, or you should do them. I've been fair. I treated people with respect, and I treated them in the way that I wanted to be treated myself. That's it. My legacy, fair, honest, respectful.
When asked about his NAACP Living Legends Award, he did humbly correct us to let us know he's won several, not just one. We could see the emotion run over him. Touching his heart, he said, "That really touched me."
To those scholars at SC State, don't be deterred by your past, and don't be limited by what you believe your future can be. It can be whatever you want it to be. I'm a living example. In my most improbable journey to the pinnacle of the judicial system in South Carolina. Who would have thought it? I surely didn't. But my foundation, my base, South Carolina State. You can go anywhere from there.
Good evening. I'm Ed Gordon. As many of you know, I've been bringing you news now for more than 3 decades. And during that time, it's been my honor to feature those who fought for fairness. One of those people is Chief Justice Donald Beatty. So on behalf of the South Carolina State University Foundation, it's my pleasure to present the Dr. M. Maceo Nance Jr. North Star Award for Public Service to South Carolina Chief Justice Donald W. Beatty.